The following preview has been rated good by the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Please check out the full episode when it releases on Sunday. Welcome to the final preview of Season 4 of The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And I don't have a witty or fun intro because we are doing a biopic about called Dolemite Is My Name, and I don't have the wit or style to mimic Rudy Ray Moore, nor did I think it would be appropriate for me to try and imitate him.
And also, we do not have a visual component to this, so star-studded glasses and a pimp suit would not radiate well over the air.
No, not at all. So, but yeah, we did Dolemite Is My Name for our last episode this year.
And I'm really glad we did, because like we've covered some biopics before. This one, though, this one hits different. This one's good.
We covered a weird amount of biopics at the end of this thing. You're like, oh, we haven't done a biopic in a while, forgetting that we had planned a biopic like 3 months down the line.
Yeah, yeah. But, like, I will say this one manages to stand out in a really pleasant way. Not only is the acting fantastic, which, gotta say, this is by far the best role Eddie Murphy's ever been in, and this is from someone who has watched every single production of Shrek ever.
I wouldn't say best role, but it is a very, very good role.
This is a very good role. Like, yes, it's a serious role, but, like, it still lets his humor shine through. But, like, it's also such a great, like, example of how well he was able to lose himself in the character. The writing, fantastic. Loved the writing.
Oh, yeah.
Overall, the movie looks great. Like, no complaints about where, like, the setting looks good, the staging of it looks good, the filming looks good.
Yeah, no, everything about this movie put together, and on top of that, once we started doing some digging into the history, there were some tweaks, but the tweaks were done in a way to present the movie as, like, oh, all of a sudden, here's this magical hotel that's full of crackheads that they can just kick out.
It helped the audience connect things that the people who was around more during this time would have already known. Mm-hmm. That, like, you as a 21st century watcher would not have known. Which, honestly, I think that works out well, especially since none of it was, like, lying or changing time period. It was just kind of telling you at a different time than the actual characters would have been told.
Yeah, and it also just leaves enough information for you to, if you want to go and do your own research and learn more about Rudy Ray Moore or that era, it leaves just enough for you to be entertained without bogging you down with, like, in
with history.
X, Y, or Z year, the world ended.
Yeah. I also think this movie does a great job of trying to preserve Moore's humor and style. Because, I mean, he was over the top. He was raunchy. Like, his movie, he made the movie because he wanted more tits and more kung fu. Yeah. And, like, that's what he did.
No. And, it's great because the other thing, too, is the movie's not just about, like, his personal life. It's about his career. And
the career part really sells it for me.
And I think that's the biggest point is that and we don't talk about this in the main episode, but I think what's interesting, especially with the writers, now that I'm thinking about how, like, Ed Wood was, I think what makes these movies interesting is there's lack of an emphasis on the personal life. Because the day-to-day, people are boring. Regardless of how interesting you think you are, the day-to-day, you are boring as all hell for the most part. Yes. But it's his career that's interesting, and that's what they focus on, going from him failing to make it anywhere to cutting to him starting to make it in his comedic career and then going into Dolemite.
And I also think that because they focused in on his career, they did such a better job than even some of the, like, supposedly, like, high-ranked biopics, like the Martin Luther King ones come to mind, where, like, they did focus really hard on his personal life and, like, his family life and his love life, which is mildly interesting, but that doesn't do a good job of showing the impact he had on not just, like, the comedy scene, not just the movie scene, but also on, like, his community, on his friends, on the people around him who he helped, like, build up and, like, take with him to stardom.
Yeah, I still need to watch Malcolm X. I've heard that's a really good one, too.
It was, but it's another one of those ones that, like, it focuses a lot on, like, his relationships, which, like, don't get me wrong, there's a place for that. However, especially if you're trying to introduce people into not just the person, but, like, the entire concept of his stand-up, of Black exploitation movies, of Dolemite in general, this is a much better and approachable way of doing that.
Yeah, it approaches it more of like a slight, or it makes me think of a little bit of like those reenactments in documentaries you see. But that's the whole movie, and so because that's the whole movie, it doesn't feel cheesy and corny like you normally would think.
And this worked out really well because a lot of the people working on this movie, including Eddie Murphy, had a chance to meet Moore before he died in like 2008, 2009. So like there is this understanding of who he was that resonates so beautifully throughout the whole movie. Comes across great.
No, exactly. And I think part of it, too, is not just Eddie Murphy, but if I remember right, the writers met Rudy Ray Moore. They'd been wanting to make this for years.
Yes, and they finally got, like, the perfect chance. And I think the only thing, and, like, it's kind of poetic justice, but, like, the only thing that I'm like, damn, is that, like, this was pretty much straight to Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, this would have been a great movie theater watch. Yeah,
no, I think so, too. I mean, it's one of those ones where it's, and this is in my conscience because we do have a movie kind of like this scheduled for season 5.
Of course.
Where it's almost a movie about movies for movie nerds.
Yes.
But at the same time, it keeps it interesting and entertaining for someone who's not accustomed to like the inner workings of stuff, because everyone in the movie is an amateur being kind of vaguely guided by people in the industry or film students who have gone to school for the technical bullshit.
Exactly.
But I think they did something special with this movie to really make it stand out. And it makes me want to dive more into the genre itself. But, well, I mean, granted, I've been waiting in the genre for a number of years at this point, but
also like the movies that this movie chose to show and be like, hey, this is something that you should be using as a time reference or as a style reference.
Yes.
Some of those like I hadn't seen, and now I definitely am going to. I'm going to take a time to go see them.
Yeah, no, and the great thing is a lot of the movies they have referenced are streaming on Amazon right now, so it's and kind of funny, but
that's why I said it feels kind of like poetic justice-y, because like all of the movies that the movie is about were like second screening, not the main theater, later at night,
midnight showing.
Exactly, and it's like it kind of feels the same way where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get to see this in AMC, but it's on Netflix, so
yeah. So the one downside, but also great side, at least until Netflix decides to cancel all their originals like they've canceled their DVD service.
I felt the bitterness that you texted that to us with.
It wasn't bitter, it was more downtrodden.
We knew this day was coming.
I know.
You were the only person holding that service afloat.
I made your husband go return one for the last time he'll ever do it.
You should have kept it.
Nah. But back to Dolemite. I think it's a good documentary.
It is, and I think this is one of the few times...
Sorry, not documentary, biopic.
Biopic. And I also think this is one of the few times where the ending works really nicely. We're having, like, the ending, and then having, like, info about the person and, like, what happened later after the film. This is one of the few times it doesn't feel stupid and corny. This feels more like a jumping off point for you to go, like, listen to his albums or go check out his movies.
Exactly. So, but anywho, this has been the good, the bad, and the weird previews.
Go check out the full episode.
Peace.